Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Hey, Ranjeet, doing great. The heat wave finally broke here. How is everything out where you are?
Wonderful. Same Phoenix, Arizona. It's 100 plus here right now. So
Oh man, I can't do that.
wonderful. So what do we have today?
All right, so for our featured question, I pitched for series funding in front of venture capitalists, and the company was later acquired. These events were covered by prominent financial media. Could this be considered strong evidence towards meeting the EB1A criteria? And if so, which criteria?
Oh, wonderful. Patrick, if you remember, we had one gentleman from our program who got EB1A,
Mhm.
something based on similar. And in fact, he did not even knew that he had a criteria that could potentially be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Now, one can definitely use this kind of initiative as the criteria, and depending on the role that is important, which criteria one can kind of manifest for the purpose of the EB1A application. First, if one is a founder or a CEO, or let's say at a very senior level or a board member, then this could potentially be considered as an award recognizing your significant achievement. Because in that case, what happens is that you and the company are the same, and the company is only an instrument for you to get something. So the award or any prize or something that is received, it is essentially to you, not necessarily to the company. In law, there is a concept called corporate wheel. Actually, it's used normally in a finance or a tax and litigation purposes, but just to bring in a point, it's like this: that somebody is if I'm, let us say, I'm running a next league program gets a funding, so it is associated with me, so I am in a position to claim it as an award even though it is a funding. So that's the first thing. Now second is, if you're an employee, then it would be more, and you have played a very major role to secure that funding, then it would be more as a critical role possibly.
Okay.
That's what I will put it. So this could be seen as fulfilling a critical role criteria, highlighting your essential contributions to the company, but you would need some kind of a documentation to establish that. Now, let's go to a third possibility also, that imagine that it's not just an ordinary startup. Somebody has valued your startup as a millions of dollars, and you get Series A funding, which is 50 million, 40 million dollars. It means essentially communicates that the idea of the establishment is very profound. In that case, and if you were instrumental in securing the funding, this may be considered as even as an original contribution. Now, so we have one as a award, second as a critical role, and third as original contribution. And it's very progressive in a sense that if you are a founder, then you can possibly use all three. If you are only an employee, then possibly your name is then it could be used only for the purpose of your critical role.
Gotcha.
And if the idea is very profound and you have got a funding and very huge, irrespective of the fact whether you are an employee or whether you are a founder, you can use it as original contribution. So depending on the nature of your situation and role and the intensity of your work, I think this would be, one can arrive at a decision. In fact, the gentleman whom I spoke about, he was working with one of the leading banks. He kind of helped that financial institution, one of the leading banks in the world. He helped them to kind of create some idea was materialized into a spin off as another subsidiary. And that subsidiary was valued at $100 million, based on which even funding from external sources was sought. And this is how one can kind of use this for the purpose of EB1A. And lastly, I think the question also pertains to a media assessment. So if it is received in the media, it even helps further actually. So yes, but I mean, notwithstanding if your name has to be prominently mentioned on it. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's great. Having the evidence is one thing. How to use it is a completely another thing. So that's excellent to hear. So with the dates moving forward recently for EB1, we've had some interesting questions. You ready to get into those?
Absolutely.
Great. So Anonymous asks from our Facebook group, has anyone claimed the award criteria with just one award, and how has this been successful?
Yes. We have had a person, even though he had multiple awards, for the purpose of EB1A, the person did use only one award. Now it all depends on what kind of what kind of evidences you produce, who selected you, how were you selected, what was the nature of initiative based on which were you selected. So it all depends on multiplicity of factors. But answering a question specifically, the answer is yes. But ordinarily, I would not suggest this actually.
Okay.
Ordinarily, I would always suggest to have plurality of initiatives to be undertaken.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So then we have Anonymous asking kind of an interesting one we might be able to nip in the bud. Is there any expiration date for recommendation letters?
Okay. Theoretically, under the legal parlance, I would respond to this question, though it is not a legal advice. There is a statute of limitations. That any evidence can be 3 years, 5 years down the line. So for evidence to be or any criteria, it depends on situation to situation.
Okay.
But remember one thing: the older that your evidence gets, staler it would become for the purpose of EB1A, not because of statute of limitations or its relevance, but the possibility of its impact factor. So, for example, but sometimes it makes sense. For example, if I have to demonstrate a sustained acclaim and I have to say that I did a very good work in 2005, it makes sense. There is no question of any statute because I'm trying to show that I was an expert in 2005 and I have continued my work and initiatives even during that time. So if I have a letter pertaining to that, but if the question is being asked from a perspective that, I want to address a letter to USCIS, because I think then there is a little challenge here, because then you are actually mentioning all the facts based on as on date. The letter is cited. There could have been potentially new development. To the best of my understanding, I have, after having studied over 1,000 cases, meeting at least 40-50 achievers, we have so many of them in our program also. I am yet to see a single case or a situation where this question has been, kind of raised, or somebody would have received an RFE based on that. So I think that should be the last of the worries for people. I would say that.
Understood. And then the second half of that question that this person was asking was, can a letter of recommendation be used from something previously in their career that was used for something else, or should it be focused on EB1A?
Not necessarily. In fact, if it is for EB1A, sometimes I have seen that it may go against you also, because people tend to use the regulatory language in that, which is not really required. So the best course of action is to kind of maintain, kind of a, meritorious disposition. So it's like this pattern, somebody worked in a company and then the boss appraised him, saying that, you have done a wonderful work. Even that is far better. And it is for a different purpose. It could be even that because of you, maybe it could be a salary hike letter. It would say that because of your exemplary work, based on these things, we are giving you this. So that's also very good, actually.
Okay. Good to know. Really good to know. So then Anonymous asks, for the following criteria of evidence of your membership in associations in the field which demand outstanding achievement of their members, does being an associate editor in a journal fulfill the requirement?
Okay, just repeat the question again, Patrick.
Sure. For the following criteria, the membership criteria, so to speak, does being an associate editor in a journal fulfill the requirement?
Okay. Let me respond to this way. That first, why would you want to use an editorial job or initiative that you have got as a membership? Because it would be more of a judging. Because you have got a wonderful opportunity to kind of assess the work of the peers, and that's what the judging criteria is meant for. Gotcha. It is not meant for giving you, kind of a membership, because it's not a club or an association. And being an editor of it's a prestigious role though, but I would rather prefer that it is utilized for the purpose of a judging initiative. We have had some of our folks in the program who are doing it, and I think I have been suggesting the same thing to them.
Great, because sometimes people don't realize that they can use peer reviewing for the judging criteria. Does that happen often?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the most because somebody who is in USA, you judge people, you interview people, you kind of assess people. So that is a good thing to be mentioned. Yes.
Great. Good to know. This one might be a little bit more technical, but I'm sure you may have some insights. I have switched employers and my perm is being processed at my new employer. Do I have to wait for this to be processed in order to port my date over to EB1A from EB2?
Okay. Now, if this is one has to go into at what stage your perm is also.
Right.
But as I said, this is not a legal advice. So, on an average, I feel that if your already EB2 was approved and you have a priority date, I think that should be suffice.
Okay.
To the best of my primary understanding, because that's not intended that your perm should be there. Well, it's not there actually required in a sense.
Okay.
So.
From what I understand, the person had a priority date of 2022. I think it's the person that I'm remembering. So they did have that established. So already, previously. Absolutely. Good.
So I would rather, I think this is a good question to be asked to your lawyer actually. But
I agree.
But I think if your focus is to start your EB1A journey, you have to wait till that happens. So you don't have to. You can always do that later. But that has no bearing on you kickstarting your EB1A journey.
Yeah, I did encourage them because I said, with where the dates are, this is a great time. There's no time to waste on getting started. So
absolutely, I would rather stick to that actually.
Absolutely. All right, so we have an anonymous question, and this kind of goes into the ethics of working towards EB1A. I was contacted by a company offering paid services for citations and media publications. If I use this type of service, could this negatively affect my EB1A petition, or is this okay to do?
Absolutely not. We, in fact, recently had a esteemed lawyer, actually, Brian, coming down to us and explaining the role of ethics and the importance of maintaining your ethical and high moral standards, but they are not necessarily only for the sake of ethics or moral standard, because anything that you do which it could potentially be detrimental for your EB1A case also actually, because I think the lawyer didn't mention, and that recording is available on the YouTube. If somebody is interested to watch the detail or role of ethics, write to us and we'll be happy to respond to you and tell you about that thing. But yes, there are certain cases which USCIS has proactively taken initiative to even cancel the EB1A application also.
Yeah.
And if anything is found to be fraudulent or something that one has done unethical, this may be held against you, and people have been deported, people have been banned. So, one should follow a right process for this, I would say that.
Absolutely. We wouldn't want that to happen to anybody in our group or that is working towards EB1A. So strongly, avoid these types of services. That is understood.
Absolutely.
So then this was a bit of a misconception question. A little bit complicated. This person wants to apply for EB1A, they're saying under the business category. They've been discussing it with friends who are in the process. Their friends have told them that, when they're once they apply for EB1A, they won't be able to get a normal job. They'll have to start their own business or make an investment. They said as per the EB1A requirements. I'm not familiar with this, but is this accurate? Will I need to start a business or make an investment for EB1A if my profile is in the business category?
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of myths around, EB1A.
Yeah.
And definitely it's not the case actually. It's called an Einstein visa. Einstein was not doing any business. So, was he? So, I think it does not make any sense. I think people are possibly confusing this with EB1B, which is more research oriented, and most of the people in that background come from a research field.
Yeah.
So that's what I would like to place that actually.
I completely agree with you there, and that was my understanding of it, because I think sometimes I've had people come to me about the EB5 as well, thinking that has something to do with EB1A, and that's just all about making an investment, from my understanding, and that's another one that people get wrong sometimes. Do you have time for one more question?
I think let's take that as the last question. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. I think you did cover this last week, but just in case anybody missed, I did have a call with somebody asking about this. If I have a filed patent when working for my previous employer that hasn't been approved, would I be able to use this as evidence for EB1A?
I think, yes, I did cover this last week, but just to bring in a point, and we have a couple of folks who have patents actually. Patent by itself will not give you, kind of any traction for your purpose of your EP1A, but it just helps you to place your initiative under original contribution. Now, having said this, it's not that every original contribution is liable to be approved for the purpose of EB1A. Now, in this particular case, one would have to see whether that approval, what is the impact factor of your patent? You see, sometimes people don't wait for that patent to happen to patent is just a, sort of an application with the government you make that your idea is preserved. That's the only thing. But the idea itself may be under execution, and there might be some impact factor that has been created. So we would leave it just to that actually. Now let's take an example. Like we have the process that we follow, the done process for Next League program. It's already, we applied for a patent 2 years back for that. So how one can apply for EB1A and, what is the process that we follow? The impact, if we were to get a patent earlier, but without any impact, then it does not make any sense.
Right.
So one would really need a good impact factor, and patent or no patent for that matter, it doesn't make any difference. Even if the patent is not approved, still, if it has an impact factor, you can use it still as an original contribution. Okay. That would be wonderful. And I would just like to, tell people this message. Don't be under the impression that just because it is a patent approved or not approved will help you. There has to be an impact factor of the nature of your work. So that's all we have today, Patrick. So friends, thank you very much for joining me here. And if you are interested to be on our show, please write to us. We'll be happy to have you and send us your questions. And if you're interested to join the Next League program, the link will be given below in a message. So please write back to us, and we'll be happy to help you. And one of our team members will get in touch with you. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks. See ya.